Alright, so in Call of Duty Zombies, there's a character who's important to the plot but you never actually see, that being Dr. Maxis. And then it wouldn't be until Origins that you actually get to see his face for the first time. But then here's my question, since you're seeing him in Origins, which is not connected to the original timeline or the Ultimus timeline, you're instead seeing his Primus version. And if I'm correct, we never actually saw his Ultimus counterpart. So am I wrong to assume that since the four main characters look completely different, Maxis would also look completely different in each universe? So this was something that I thought was intentional, but might have actually just been a glitch. So at the beginning of Fallout 4, you leave the vault for the first time, and when you do this, an alarm starts to sound. And well, after returning back to the vault many hours later, it was still going off. And well, there's just this funny thought of you can go through the entirety of the game and complete your quest in the wasteland, and this whole entire time, that alarm has just been non-stop going off. Frogger is a pretty messed up game when you actually think about it, with it being a realistic take of a frog just trying to get home, and going through so many horrific trials and tribulations as possible, like not trying to get squished by a car, or eaten by a snake or a crocodile or even an otter, and needing to make as precise jumps as possible because if he hits the water he can't swim. Nature's brutal, man. Narc at this point I would assume is considered like an obscure arcade game from the 80s, and I do kind of specify when it was made because it's like only in this decade could they have gotten away with this game, with it being like the most literal interpretation of the war on drugs ever made, with you just gunning down addicts and drug dealers. And it's just that I really can't help myself but love this game because of its over-the-top ridiculousness, while it tries to play it straight and serious the entire way through. They definitely don't make them like they used to. So when I just recently played through GTA Chinatown Wars, I noticed a really cool story hint related to who the main bad guy of the game is. So I guess spoiler warning. But anyway, it turns out that the guy behind everything is your Uncle Kenny. And the hint I'm talking about plays during one of his cutscenes, where he literally lays out his plan against an enemy of his. But if you look at the exact wording of his plan, it's literally what he did to Huang, with Kenny killing his brother, taking the sword, and then trying to kill Huang. It's funny to think that we've gotten to the point in gaming where people who grew up on certain games that don't get made anymore just go on to make them themselves. Because seriously, it's like Nintendo doesn't want to make any more traditional Paper Mario games? Okay, I'll go and make my own with bugs instead. What's that? Sega doesn't want to make any more good 2D Sonic games? Okay, I'll just go make one with a dragon instead. And they never want to make another Sonic Adventure type game. Oh well. It's a good thing that there's an Electric Jester that fills that void. Wait, you're telling me Geometry Wars has been a dead series for the last 11 years? Not anymore, it isn't. And not to mention that GoldenEye send-up that I'm still waiting for. So this just randomly popped into my mind, since I haven't played this game in a good while, but why the hell does Sideshow Bob appear in the Simpsons game? Well, the immediate reaction should be, oh, he's a boss, isn't he? No, he just appears during a cutscene, says a few lines, and then gets hit by a rake. And that's it. He's just there and then gone. It's just a pointless cameo for like the sake of a pointless cameo, as well as, again, a potential boss that was just wasted away. Alright, so you know how in most GTA games you can't go to different islands at the beginning, and there's always a story explanation why? Like the bridge blowing up in 3, or the hurricane coming in Vice City, or the terrorist in GTA 4. And well, I bring this all up because these are usually things that affect the state as a whole, and you'll get like news broadcasts about when everything opens up again. But what I'm ultimately getting at is that I found it interesting that in San Andreas it's the only one where it's not affecting the state as a whole, it's only affecting Carl, with Tenpenny specifically targeting him, making him not able to leave. So I like Asteroids, it's a fun game to play, but much like many older arcade games, it's a very difficult game, with you needing to be on your toes so you don't get hit by the asteroids themselves or shot by the UFOs. And well, with all that stuff going on, there is an actual way to get out of these jams. That being the hyperdrive, which puts you at a random location on the screen. And so problem solved, right? If you're in a jam, just teleport away. Well, no, actually, because there's a random chance that the game will just straight up kill you if you use this. And I mean, I kinda get it because they don't want people just spamming it so that way they could just keep surviving. But at the same time, it's like the only salvation you have now has a piece of doubt in it, making you not want to use it at all. So this is just something I thought was pretty funny concerning the Dead Rising games. That being the fact that you can get bitten as many times as you want by a zombie but never change. And well, obviously this doesn't make sense, as if you just get bit once, you should be changing into a zombie. And well, what I just find funny about this is the fact that Dead Rising 3 is the only game where this actually makes sense, as it's the only game in the series with a legitimate explanation on why Nick doesn't change into a zombie. And before you ask, no, I don't count Frank taking Zombrex as a legitimate reason, since with how frequent the zombie bites are, I don't think the drug would be strong enough to stop him from turning. Either that or he just simply wouldn't have enough doses of it. Alright, so this is just something that always bugged me in the first level of Creature from the Krusty Krab, it being related to the fact that this whole entire level is about SpongeBob racing other characters. And well, it just always annoyed me that these weren't real races, instead being time-based races where you need to keep getting checkpoints. Meanwhile, the person you're racing against is always out in front of you, and you can never catch up to them no matter what you do. So in Sonic Colors, whenever you beat a level, you go into the score screen for what I suppose you can call a mini bonus game, where you could break the numbers and the letters to get extra score, lives, and rings. And well, I bring this up because in the water levels, whenever you go to these score screens, you're still underwater. And well, there's just this funny thought of, can you die from drowning on this screen? I mean, obviously, normally you can't because there's a very short timer that kicks you out after a while. But if that timer wasn't here, could you, well, just stand there until you drowned? Or even possibly manipulate the game to where you're drowning right before you finish the level, then like carry that over. Alright, so in Black Ops 2 Zombies, there was the map Origins. And in this map, we got reintroduced to the 4 main characters, or at least different versions of them known as the Primus crew, while the originals would be known as Ultimus. Now I bring this all up because within the Ultimus universe, there is also the Victus crew. And well, am I wrong to assume that if the 4 original characters have Primus counterparts, the same would be true for the Victus characters, with a set of alternate versions of themselves just existing over there? It's funny to think that a good idea that was done very poorly in Duke Nukem Forever was repurposed in the new Doom games, and would go on to become one of the most iconic things about them. That being the glory kills, where you would weaken down an enemy, then melee attack them, then start an animation killing them. And well, in Doom, they were doable on any enemy, they would give you back your health, and you couldn't get hurt during them. Meanwhile, in Duke Nukem Forever, you would get your health back, but it wasn't with every enemy you could do this with. It would just seem to happen completely randomly and not that often either. But easily worst of all is the simple fact that you could get hurt while trying to do this. And because of that, it really wasn't worth to do even when it did happen. The 2009 Ghostbusters video game is a great, well, game, with fun proton-packed ghost-busting action, with the bonus of fighting alongside the original Ghostbusters, and it even has a surprisingly good multiplayer feature. But with all the great stuff that this game has, it kinda sucks looking back on it that it doesn't have a co-op campaign. And I mean, that kinda sucks. It really would have been cool to go through the campaign with your friends tagging alongside you, and it's just an unfortunate missed opportunity. So all the classic Sonic games have a stage select code that you can plug into the game, which allows you to go to any stage that you want. And well, I bring this all up because this includes Sonic 3 even when it's combined with Sonic and Knuckles. And well, it's just funny to think that there's still a stage select code in a game that actually saves your progress, since due to that reason you kinda really don't need it. Well, outside the fact that it actually allows you to go straight to Act 2. But other than that, you literally have full access to all the levels after beating the game. Of all the games to predict the future, how the hell was Dead Rising 4 one of them? I say this because the game was released in 2016, but it's actually set in 2021. And well, the zombie virus in this game starts at Black Friday, with so many people squeezed in together. And then a little bit later into the game, they're literally asking how this outbreak could have happened if everyone was vaccinated. I mean, obviously in the end it's not one for one, no one turned into a zombie, but at the same time it's surprisingly as close as it really shouldn't be. So level 7 of The Simpsons Hit and Run is a repeat of level 1, but with a significant part of the map like cut off to you. And obviously because of this, the map is much more smaller and cramped and there's not as much to do. And the few new places to make up for it aren't really that worth it. So I thought it would have been cool if they utilized the UFO better and made it like an area within the map that you could explore. And maybe have it to where you could drive around in it, especially for like the final missions, instead of you just using it to blow up your car. Alright, so throughout the many GTA games, there are many differently diverse missions that must be done. Whether it be as simple as trying to kill someone, getting their car resprayed, or trying to cover someone with a sniper rifle, or something really out there like stealing a jetpack from a secret base, or flying through the air on a massive drug trip. I believe I'm not wrong in saying that none of these missions, except for one, has the objective of you collecting a collectible. Like, for example, there isn't a mission in GTA 4 telling you specifically to kill a pigeon. Although I will say there are missions where, like, you do a stunt jump, but it's not like you'll fail it if you don't do it. But anyway, the mission I'm talking about is tagging up the turf in San Andreas, which again, I believe is unique to the entire series, making it the only one where it forces you to get a collectible in order to complete the mission. Can you actually win at a game of pinball? I only ask this because I know that there are ones where you have like objectives to complete within them, so that if you complete all the objectives, is that considered a win? Or is it considered a win if you manage to max out the scoreboard? I always found this kind of impressive in the old I Spy computer games, that being related to the fact that you would usually go through every level at least 3 times, with a completely different set of stuff to look for every time. And well, like I said, it's impressive that they managed to get 3 completely different sets of riddles out of one static image. Alright, so this is just something that always bugged me in Fairly Odd Parents Break Into Rules. It being related to the opening cutscenes for the levels. And well, for the first time you play them, you get the opening cutscenes. But for whatever reason, every subsequent time that you try to play these levels, you don't get them anymore. The game just completely skips over them. And to my knowledge, the only way to watch them again is if you start a new game. And I mean, I kinda get the point, since you've seen it once already and you're just trying to get to the level itself faster. But at the same time, if you want to watch those cutscenes again, you just straight up can't. Unless you're willing to go through the whole game again. So I don't understand why they didn't just keep them in and just allow you to skip them. Alright, so this is just something I find kind of funny in Black Ops 1. It involving the main menu where you're in the torture chair and you could look around and get out of it if you really want to. And while on this main menu, it's been figured out that Mason has no head in it, but that's only able to be seen if you mod the camera so you have free access. However, I always found it pretty interesting that if you look at the smaller TV below the main menu TV, which shows a camera feed of the room you're in, if you look close enough you could see Mason's body there, but without a head. Granted, it's very hard to see and it's probably even harder on this short, but it is there. And I guess Treyarch didn't notice this or hoped other people wouldn't notice this. So I always found this concept in gaming hilarious, that being the idea that supernatural beings can be defeated with guns. And although there are many examples, Doom is the first thing that comes to mind. And again, it's just funny to think that these otherworldly monstrosities are dead if you just put enough lead into them. You know, they crossed over into another dimension just to meet their true doom: bullets. No matter what, no game is without glitch. It doesn't matter how well known or obscure they are, or how new or old they are, or even what their overall quality is, because games are all made by humans who all are imperfect in one way or another, and because of that, the stuff we create will never 100% work. Happy Random Gaming Thoughts number 400. I genuinely can't believe I made this many.